Okay. We always skip ahead past the previously on. There is a previously on, a recap tonight. So you're going to want to jump ahead to the 38-second mark if you haven't already done so. Jump to the 38-second mark and then just pause your episode there. Is everybody ready? Does anybody have any questions?
You might want to make Beth a moderator just in case.
Yep. Something I have to get better at remembering. Great. I'm feeling good about this episode. I'm guessing it's a Secret Santa episode. I'm guessing it is, mostly because of that title. Are we ready?
Can't even tell you how excited I am for you to get to this plot point, because I forgot that it was like right now, and I haven't been this excited for an episode in a while.
Is that the general consensus from the couch?
It's a good one.
Yep, it's a good one.
I love it.
Great. Okay, everyone, if you've been here before, you know what we're doing next. If you are new, grab your remote, have your trigger thumb on that play button, but do not press it, because we're going to do that at the same time. On the count of 3, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Building up the anticipation there.
Oh yeah.
Lala's right from the start.
Right from the start, just like out the gate. Just Lala's out the gate.
Classic Lala.
I really want my dog to have a couch inside my bedroom. That's nice.
Our dogs have a couch. It's called the bed.
Look who's back from France.
Kind of daughter that's willing to pay for the airport car park.
Wait a second. She's back from France. That's right. She wasn't in France last episode.
I was talking about Gigi.
Oh,
Rory went to London.
Rory went to London to
London.
see Logan.
she did that between last episode and this one.
Yeah, remember
Yep.
with the rock?
Yeah, I
episode,
remember
she
that.
sent
I'm
daughter
just
tickets
pointing
for-
out the fact that we didn't see anything of it. Nor did we see Gigi come back from France.
And she's magically become like a calm, collected child.
Love the Lenny Bruce reference.
Dawn, the timer's not running. Poor Gigi.
It's running. The timer's running.
That would be hard to make a child wait like that. I don't know if I could do that.
Mark just said in Discord that it wasn't running. I have not looked.
I agree.
It's Rachel.
Sometimes
I
you have
for
to
the
actually
intro,
you have
so people
to
tell me
press
when it
the
starts.
little. sometimes you have to press the little button under it. But one thing that I do need to do is actually fast forward it a little bit. I just realized that I didn't fast forward the timer to the correct spot.
I don't think I could wait for Christmas. That's
For
harsh.
like a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old, that's. I wonder if she's young enough though that they just like didn't tell her the date.
True, yeah, when they're that
done
little.
birthdays and stuff.
Good point, Beth.
Someone tell me when to press play again because I skipped the. Go ahead.
Oh,
It's a habit. I usually skip.
Some friends of mine, they usually burn their Christmas trees on New Year's Eve as like a tradition, so they let it dry out. So like whenever we would go to their block party, we'd bring tons of trees that we were getting rid of.
And just have a huge fire.
Yeah, exactly. To see
Oh my
we'll burn first.
God,
yikes.
that's fun.
John, you're showing a card again.
What's up?
They're
Share
sharing the
card.
card again.
I'm in this episode?
Yep,
Yeah.
your name was sharing the card with somebody.
How am I in this? I don't remember this. I've never heard of this episode.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not getting checked.
What in? I'm starting to. All right.
Retroactive
calls.
pay.
I got some calls to make tomorrow.
You don't remember dressing up as a gnome?
I do not.
Maybe
know.
he's blocked it out because of
Santa?
the tornado and the beheading. He just doesn't want to.
I love this kid so much.
She seems really enthused.
She's so funny.
I pictured him like bribing her with candy or something to do the scene well and like get it done.
Rory's so acting all upset.
She finally realizes something's her fault.
Yes, accountability. Good for you, Rory.
I really
Totally.
like Rory's hair in this scene.
Oh, the color and the shine. It's perfect.
I like when she wears it in a ponytail. She doesn't do it as often as I would think a college student would.
Good
I
point.
think that the bangs look good with the hair back.
I agree.
And of course, I'm very much liking Lorelai's hair.
Metro wave.
Santa prefers gum.
Does anybody do reindeer food with their kids?
I do.
My
my
nieces
kids
do
love it.
that.
Does what? Reindeer what?
Reindeer food?
Don't know what that.
We always left carrots for the reindeer.
Same.
My daughter
Yeah.
said, we'll have to send you a recipe, John.
Growing up in Miami, Florida, reindeer weren't a big part of the Christmas tradition.
TD, you did glitter on the front door steps too.
Oh no, Chris singing. Stop.
Wow, that was
I think
Hard.
that's
Awful.
That was hard on the ear.
We like to play the movie Elf when we're decorating. Have like hot cocoa and stuff.
I love Michelle.
I love it.
That face.
His little soul patch.
I was just gonna say
Thing.
that the soul patch is bothering me. That was such a look at that time too.
But on him, it like literally looks like somebody forgot when they were shaving him.
Is Luke wearing bell bottoms?
He's hip. New hat, new pants.
That snap, that hat is way too small. That snap is like,
It's like on last snap.
it's like on the last two snaps. I mean, that is just not, you don't do that.
I mean, he might have a big head. Some of us have big heads.
But his blue hat doesn't look like that.
Makes me so sad for him that he can't see April and she's keeping him.
Yeah, this is awful. I mean, look at that, Luke. That's all you needed to do, you know? Just bring her into some of this.
I know.
But the handshake.
handshake.
The handshake. But I liked it though.
She looks so startled by that.
Every time they show Suki cooking, she's always garnishing.
Or stirring a pot.
That's totally true. I mean, does Suki even know how to cook? Does she only know how to garnish?
She also knows how to sample soups. She's really good at that.
Does she only know how to sample soups and garnish this whole time? She's been totally masquerading as a chef, and she can only garnish.
We've been bamboozled.
I heard Melissa McCarthy say she does not cook. She's not a very good cook at all. So like all the cooking stuff that she did on the show was all acting. So they probably gave her easy stuff to do on.
Right.
Sherry did say that she does season things, so I'll give her that.
I do like that Lorelai is doing this for Luke. I used to do family law and character witnesses do help.
Look at that pregnant belly. Oh my goodness.
Ugh, takes me back.
I love this lane.
Is this the cranky pregnant woman trope that we're seeing here?
Probably, yes.
I knew it. I knew it.
It was very sinister.
I mean, she would be old enough to have an opinion in this as well.
Oh, she called him dad. Uh-oh. That's not gonna bode well for Luke.
Is that gonna kindle a romance between the two of them?
Doubtful.
Between who?
Doubtful.
For John's bet.
No, my bet that percentage has gone down from 0.3 to like 0.00075.
They're all wearing Christmas sweaters.
I like Gigi's artwork on Rory's bedroom door.
Her best monologue coming up. Love it.
Absolutely.
Seen this meme.
Iconic Lorelai.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen this.
I have
I've
that
seen
quote
before.
framed on my wall in my office.
I want to
think
know how
so.
long it. I
I think Shelley was wearing that shirt the other day.
want to know how long it took her to say that.
Rory likes to write letters to people when she's feeling like she can't talk to them in person.
That is true, yeah.
I think it also helps her avoid someone who's very upset with her or could.
There we go. There we go. There's the title of the episode. No Secret Santa in this episode. Oh, wow.
It looks so bright and sunny for December, January time.
She's got the waddle down.
I mean, that fake belly.
You know
is
how
huge.
heavy that like pregnancy belly was for her, John?
Sorry, I didn't hear that. I was focusing.
I said, do you know how heavy that like pregnancy belly was for her to wear?
I don't, but it's heavy. Well, maybe not. It might be. It might be more of like a stuffing type thing. I mean, it looks a little lumpy.
I mean, there are two in there.
It looks like a medicine ball stuffed underneath.
Yeah, it doesn't really look real.
I just realized, I think that's the first time we see someone come in from the side of the kitchen. They usually come from the side of the living room.
How much time do you think Mrs. Tim spends at their house now?
I don't know, but where's Brian?
Who's
He's with
running the
us, eh?
store?
He's with his foster family.
Mia.
You remember she moved in with a Korean family.
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
know,
saying.
that's why I'm saying, where is he? If I had a shared card in this, then I'm in the episode. Where is Brian?
You'll know when you see the notes.
Oh, I remember.
That belly just looks so fake.
It's just so wide on the side. Can you melt candy canes into coffee?
Oh, yeah.
What?
I don't think it works that well.
It does if it's hot enough. I had a hot chocolate charcuterie board that I had candy canes and they melted nicely.
Oh.
Oh, this sounds awesome.
Sounds yummy.
You can put a little dollop of ice cream and whipped cream on top, stick a candy cane in there, some sprinkles.
Should we do an ugly sweater event in Remarcus for the holidays?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
We have a section designated to ugly sweaters in the back. It's so rough.
Characteristic Lorelai. And Rory.
I kind of feel bad for Chris in this instance. So, like, don't you think he should know?
Yeah, totally. Do you think that Emily has this same character trait of like not telling people things when they're a little nervous?
We know Richard does.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's Richard. They definitely got it from Richard.
Got it from Richard. They got it from Richard.
The end of that scene was weird because they finished talking and then they just silently walked off camera.
Yeah, it was definitely odd. It wasn't typical.
Usually they cut immediately so that they don't have that kind of awkwardness. But this season doesn't have the same editor that they've had for the last 6 seasons. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That is awesome. I like that he's doing that.
Yeah, trying to support.
Trying to support her, make her feel better about it, even though it's awful for him.
Yeah, he's putting her needs first.
He's a good dad.
I hate that she's hiding that from him.
But it's the title.
Classic Lorelai.
Oh, Lorelai. Hey, there I am.
Staring at the belly.
No recollection of this whatsoever.
Maybe because it's really upsetting.
Move away, Brian.
John, your face is like right in her crotch.
No recollection, none.
You don't remember practicing this before you had Josie?
No.
It's a good thing Todd taught you how to hold a baby with that mandolin.
Ew.
And little Gil.
Oh, Gil, I forgot about him.
This I do remember.
I love that Gil knows his breast pump.
Macon is also, looks like he wants to be in the band. He has that microphone.
I'm surprised Brian didn't have like all of the models and the pros and cons laid out for them.
That's how I feel about tacos.
We
I was
know.
just- I was just thinking that day.
That I can't believe how little of that scene I retained. I mean, really, like I'd say the entire series, that is the one episode that I would say I've retained almost nothing. Just that breast pump thing at the very end.
That was serious life knowledge in that episode, John.
There's some funny stuff in there, like all of that stuff with like the mandolin and the baby holding and all of that was really good. You know, I'm surprised that I didn't remember.
Just think of all the after Christmas sales that they are actually hitting up right.
So the best thing about Orthodox Christmas is that it happens in January and
Oh, wow. I'd never thought about that. But yeah, wow.
Oh yeah, this is around the time that they just decided Pluto wasn't a planet.
That's funny line. Oh man. April is awesome. Stop it.
Oh, Lorelai's
Okay.
looking at her face.
Those are sweet.
I imagine a monogram belt to have like a huge belt buckle.
Oh, definitely.
and there's the letter.
I love how Zach and Mrs. Kim are a team.
Cause he's the dad.
Yeah, but I like that he's encouraging her. It is true. Your life doesn't have to end just because you have a baby.
Totally.
And she's got a supportive husband.
Totally. Yeah, I'm starting to see this whole plot line a little differently now. That particular scene I thought was really interesting and kind of cool. Especially the Sonic Youth thing.
April just wants to spend time with her dad.
No, it's so sad.
Ick.
He needs a lawyer, though.
I know, but just the idea that she hired a shark.
It fits
you know?
with her character, I feel like.
And it's that April like knows that much.
That's
Yeah.
the
Good
uncomfortable part.
point.
But a mother who wants to keep someone away from her kid will, she has to do, so.
Yeah, that's gross though. In this situation, it's
Agreed.
not cool. He is wearing bell bottoms. Those are some serious bells. Those things are ringing every time he walks.
They have boot, not bell bottom, they're
They're sort of in between boot and bell. Those are bull bottoms.
It bothers me she didn't sign it.
I was just gonna say the same thing. I'm like, why is she putting it in the envelope?
Yeah, that's always bothered me too.
She
It's
didn't
not like she has to have
proofread.
it notarized, but
Yeah, she didn't proofread it one more time or sign it. She just
oh,
put it in.
I would have my red pen all over that.
They put lights on the dollhouse. That's so cute.
They kept the picture from Emily. That's
Oh yeah, I saw that.
creepy.
No, it's from scratching.
I always love that line.
Oh, man, Lorelai.
It's
It's
snowing.
snowing. That's kind of
Gigi looks a little bit like one of my granddaughters.
Never seen that mailbox before, ever.
I was just thinking it's so like bright and out of place.
that definitely was never there.
Nor do I know what street she's walking on, because I don't think we've ever seen her walk down that street before.
That-
That's the
Oh,
street that
that's
Mrs.
the
Kim,
house.
Mrs. Kim's is just to the left of these trees.
Is
It's
it?
just to the left of these trees.
Isn't the
Yeah.
house with the columns, the Twickham house?
Yeah, but like,
possible?
she never
Yeah.
walks down that street, like she never walks past the pickup.
She
house.
never-
Yeah,
Going
we rarely ever see that. The camera rarely ever shoots down that street the way that it has. But that is the street that Mrs. Kim's is on and Suki's is on. That's all on the left, and to the right would have been the structure that is the band's apartment, except the other side of it. That's why that mailbox, they just put that there because that's never been there before.
So, John, were you right?
Well.
Did you enjoy it?
What's up?
Did you enjoy the episode?
What did you say?
Were we right? Did you enjoy the episode?
It's a great episode. It's a great episode. It's kind of a sad episode. That all that stuff with April and Luke is just killing me. That's a real sad. That's sad, that stuff. Especially because it's not really played sad. That's like the best part about it, is that it's just, you can just feel that it's getting sad. Like, yeah. All right, let's open up the couch and let's get some other folks sad. Come on. Come on up and wallow in the sadness.
Let's share the misery with it.
Come on up, everybody.
John, that ick,
Did you like it?
I did.
Did he make you proud, Cherry?
Oh my God.
Hello. Does this make you like Christopher even more?
Do I like Christopher? I mean, I had no problem with Christopher in this episode. I had a big problem with Lorelai in this episode.
No, I'm saying, did this episode make you like him more?
No, not any more or any less than I had before. I mean, I think he was fine in the episode. It wasn't really his episode. I mean, it was nice seeing all of that stuff, all that family stuff with them and with Gigi and all of that. But that was for sure. I mean, there's no question about it. Those are bell bottoms. Those things ring.
Oh, yeah.
No,
I have
they're
not noticed
I don't
it.
think
They
They're not. John, that was a style called a stovepipe, and they're a wide straight leg, and they were popular in the early 2000s. All the men wore them then.
I don't know. I mean, that was
Yes,
pretty
that's what they're called.
ding dong. Those things. I mean, really, like the witch is dead. Like those things were ringing. They were pretty. They were pretty flared. Those things.
They're not flared. They're just a wide leg all the way down. It's a straight wide leg.
You didn't hear those things ringing when he
Nope.
was walking?
No, I know the style because I was around then wearing the fashion.
All right, we're I'm gonna need to see that again before I can really say 100%. I'm with you there because those things look pretty bell.
All right, your choice. Well, wait and see. Look up stovepipe style jeans.
Sheev, what do you think? Bell bottoms, flare, boot cut, boot.
That was
Bull
flare. That
bottom.
was flare
Bull
for
bottom.
sure. That was flare. I had some flare.
All right, so where should we begin? We don't want to go too deep into Luke's fashion sensibility. We already know that he doesn't know how to pick hats for himself. should we start with Lorelai and the letter, or Luke and April,
Or Lane.
or Lane?
Now, what's interesting is, episode of course is called Santa's Secret Stuff. Christopher refers to the presents that he got as Santa's Secret Stuff. Lorelai refers to her letter as Santa's Secret Stuff. And of course, Luke and April, well, that's a secret from Anna.
Yeah,
There's a
totally.
lot of
Yeah,
secrets.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
all a lot of secrets.
yeah, a bunch of
This
secrets in this episode.
Nice.
Oh, boy.
Sorry, Sean, I had to meet you there before things got too crazy on your end. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a really I really liked the writing in this episode. I thought it was really sharp
Agreed.
I felt very, I mean, just the dialogue was very, just it was really good. I liked it a lot. Let's start with Lane. Why not? Let's start with Lane. I was, that scene between Lane and Zach was, I thought, really interesting, especially like we've talked a bit about whether or not this was like a real unfortunate plot line to give to the Lane character. Or we talk about whether it is. I know some folks do. I know a lot of the fandom does. It seems like Amy actually does as well. But I thought that was a really interesting take on it. This idea that like your life doesn't end when you have kids. You can, like there are plenty of examples of people who continue to follow their dreams. They just brought their kids along with them. And actually, like, I thought it was also kind of interesting that they gave you a little bit of that with Gil's kid, bringing him along as well. Showing that like, he seems perfectly fine. And in fact, it didn't seem like kids was the thing that derailed his, past like future dreams of success. It was that there was infighting between members of his band, and that now he has a family and is pursuing it again. That it was like back before he had a family and kids where the real problems in his dreams kind of surfaced, and now he's once again following his dream.
Yeah, I absolutely loved how Zach was going on saying, our lives aren't going to end. They're still going to go on. I absolutely love that, because that's how it is. Your life doesn't end. You just bring your kids along with you.
Oh,
yeah.
I think that when I first learned that Lane was married and then pregnant, I thought, oh gosh, how is this going to go for her? And I think until I saw this episode and how supportive Zach was, and still pursuing her dream and supporting her and just being there for her, then I thought, okay, this is actually pretty cool to show that, and that her life isn't over and that she can still do what she wants to do. And so, but until this episode, until that scene, it didn't sit well with me.
And that's also something that we don't really think about much, which is celebrities have kids, and musicians have kids. We don't see them because that's not part of the marketing for a big, huge celebrity, is to like show you their family and their family life and their kids. But like, as you said, they have nannies.
Well, yeah, they have nannies for each.
They do, but I think that there are plenty of examples of successful artists, successful actors and musicians who were not successful, like who had their family before they gained their big success. So I actually don't think that it's that crazy. I mean, just hearing that speech that you had, Mick Jagger, and that was more of a joke, but like, Sonic Youth, they have a kid. We actually saw their kid because we saw Sonic Youth in that past episode with the Troubadours, right? Like their kid was there playing with them, and I think that's really interesting. And I also will say that even though I know that Amy at least has been public about being the most like bummed about that particular storyline when she returned to the story in the revival, I will say that there was a plan in the revival for a much bigger band storyline that had to be cut simply for budget concerns. So it's not like the band was smaller and all of that was smaller because they couldn't oh well, like that's what we've got, family with like twins, like there's no way that we would ever be able to do that. Like there was some plan, just knowing, because I know that before everything kind of went down, before folks got the call, for showing up to shoot, there was a sense that it was much larger, and then I actually heard that from I believe, I want to say from Valerie or maybe it was from George or whatnot, that the band wasn't the only storyline, that it was a very ambitious script, and that there was another big storyline that was also just for budget reasons, had to be scaled back. And so just consider that, because there may have been a version of the revival that included, some bigger things with the band. I don't know what it would have been because I never got that script, and I don't know. I don't even know how much of it was actually written, how much of it was planned and then scrapped. But I know that I was told that there would be more.
I also think we need to be fair to the writers, that these writers knew that people would be upset with the storyline, and I feel like this was them dealing with it head on and like trying to defend that you can have a bigger story, including a family, that it does, like when she's like, I had a small window. That's actually a lot of the fans who hate the storyline, who are like, Lane never got to live.
Yeah, totally. You can hear the writers responding to what was like, because this is episode 11, so this is right before that mid break. So it's right before what would have been the hiatus for the show that season, which means that the episode was written well into episodes already airing. So they've already gotten a sense for how the fandom feels about what they did with the character. So this does, to a degree, feel like the writers are making, they're making their case, that they're trying to explain why they believe that it isn't as bad as it may have seemed, or why they did it.
It almost also feels like a correction, like the whole premise of the show is that Lorelai got pregnant young, and quote unquote her life was over, and I almost feel like this storyline is a bit of a let's keep proving that one wrong type of thing,
Right. Yeah, I see that. But I mean, in general, it does get me like hopeful. I mean, I know that I know what happens in the revival. So in regards to the band, but like, if I didn't know, this would like have me hopeful, like maybe they can actually like be successful and find musical, some sort of musical fame. I don't know what folks are doing, like what people are like. I don't know if in the revival or between now and the revival, whether we know if like the band is actually like if it's profitable for the members of the band, or if everybody's like working other jobs.
John, just remember, you only saw one episode of the revival, so maybe the band got back together without Brian.
Oh, wow, yeah, that would be heartbreaking.
Maybe it was Zach, Lane, and the boys.
Oh, no, oh, no. I really do love this idea that the boy, I think that the coolest spinoff for Gilmore Girls, that is like have alien related, would not be with Zach, Brian, Lane, and Gil, but it would be following the twins as they are starting their own band, and that we would just be guest stars that occasionally show up on that show. Personally, I just think that would be
I'd watch.
that would just be the least like, I don't think people would expect that. Like they would expect, oh my gosh, have alien spinoff, like it's gonna have Zach, Brian, Lane, and Gil, and then like I just think that it would be way more surprising if it was like, no, we're following these two like 21-year-old twins that like, and their whole world and all of their new friends. We get to meet a whole new cast of characters, and and then just every once in a while, some of our old Stars Hollow characters like that are related to the band show up.
That sounds like the Boy Meets World revival.
I was thinking that.
Girl Meets
Jessica.
World.
Yeah, maybe I'm influenced by that a bit. Or any of these like Fuller House and all of that kind of stuff.
I mean, I watched all of Girl Meets World as a grown, bill-paying adult.
Same.
So I would totally watch them in like a Disney Channel type show if that's where that went.
If we say it enough here in Remarkast, maybe we can make it happen.
Kirk would be involved for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Who would be involved?
Kirk.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Kirk would show up
He'd be a
for sure.
He'd probably.
But I do love the idea. I do love the idea that if anybody from the original cast is like a heavily featured, like, or even like a regular on this show, that this hypothetical show that we're talking about, that it wouldn't be Lane, it wouldn't be Zach, it wouldn't be Brian, it wouldn't be Gil, it would be their music manager, Mrs. Kim.
John, why are you talking yourself out of a job? You are not a guest star. You are a co-star.
I think actually co-star, actually, believe it or not, is a smaller role in acting. Like, to get a co-star credit is smaller than a guest star credit.
You will be a special appearance.
Ooh. Should we talk do we want to talk any more on this, or should we pivot over to Luke and April?
I just
Or
want to
does anybody have
say
any
it was really nice to hear the interpretation for that, because right now I'm a single mom at age 30 and I'm playing Minecraft with my kid while listening to this.
Nice.
And I still have dreams. I want to be, I guess I've discovered through time with my kid that how important it is to stay young. And well, that was always kind of the plan, but I was never like an artist before, but now I'm thinking about it, so all these things are really cool.
That's great.
Single parent moves, and you're doing a great job.
Here.
Thank you.
You
know, on the whole Luke and Anna thing, because I'm a single mom as well, and my daughter's dad left, so I see a lot of the things through like Lorelai's eyes in a way. But this whole situation with Anna keeping April from Luke really irritates me. I hate this entire thing. And this is why I've always, ever since I watched it from the first, like I just hate Anna. And I cannot stand her, and it's because of this. I can't stand it.
But
It drives me.
But if you think back, if you honestly think back, would you say that that's how you felt about Anna from the get-go? Because that's definitely
No.
how I feel about her now, but I wouldn't say that that's how I really felt about her at the beginning. I thought she was being pragmatic and she was being protective. I mean, now it really feels like she's being vindictive.
It does. I remember watching it from the beginning, and it was different because back then, because I started this when the show started, and so I grew up with Lori, and so I remember it from like a kid's point of view, and I didn't like Anna because I kind of compared her to Lorelai in a sense, and then after I watched it all the way through, then I think I got tainted because of this situation. So I've honestly never liked Anna. It's just my thoughts on her changed.
Do you think that Anna and Christopher need to get together?
Ew, no.
I'm just kidding. So
Christopher, he's a deadbeat. I don't like him.
What kind of sick suggestion?
so you don't
is
want to
that?
you don't think that the deadbeat and the vindictive, that we should ship those characters?
No, you don't
No.
want put two evil people together. Ew, gross.
That's how supervillains are created, John.
That is how supervillains are created.
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I'm there now. I just needed to get a little deeper into this storyline, but I get it. She's pretty. This is pretty awful. She's doing, yeah. And I think it definitely crosses over. I mean, the hiring like a shark of a lawyer, and like, you know, just all this like really like there's nothing that Luke has done that has really told us like that should tell her that he's in any way somebody that you would want to keep your daughter from.
No,
Especially-
exactly. It's just disgusting. I can't stand it.
Well, in watching this the first time, I thought at first, before this episode, I thought she's dealing with a lot. She has this parent that she has to be there for. She has this daughter. I mean, I'm sure she doesn't want to uproot her just for fun. I mean, there's reasons behind why she's making certain decisions. But this episode made me change my feelings towards her just to see how supportive Luke is being, and how, you know, he hasn't really been in April's life because of her decision, not because of his. And to see how close, her calling him dad, seeing how their bond and how close they are, and he's being so supportive of the move. And it just made me feel, and the shark lawyer, all that comment. and I
But
just
that
thought,
makes you.
oh,
But that's because you feel for Luke. But like that doesn't that doesn't really reflect anything on whether or not Anna is still in the right or whether she's dealing with it. For me, the main thing about why this episode really, why it's so ick for Anna is actually part of what you're saying here, which is she's got a lot to be dealing with. Why is she adding even more? Why is she suddenly like, you know, really like fighting him on this? Like, you have you have a sick parent who you need to be dealing with. You have a daughter who's already like really heartbroken that she has to leave all your friends. You're adding onto that. Like, that just strikes me as somebody who's just like digging their heels in, and just out of spite they're doing that because it just seems unnecessary. It's like you're adding more to your life for no other reason than you just want to win this. And because there's nothing that he's done that has suggested that he's somebody that you would want to be fighting.
But hasn't she been spiteful since, I mean, the birth, when she didn't even tell Luke about it? And I think she's
I don't know
just,
if I would call that spite. It's definitely irresponsible.
I think
but she
it's
made a
control.
choice, and I think she just made a choice that this is kind of, it's always been them too. And I think part of it is hard for her to wrap her head around that. Yes, even though she's being selfish, because even though she's dealing with this parent and all this other stuff, she still wants her daughter there because she's always had her daughter there, and she's thinking more of her wants rather than the child's best interests.
100%.
Yeah.
I think it
Hardest
comes
guy.
down to control. I think Anna's someone who wants to be in control. And the mere suggestion that Luke may be able to take decisions away from her, just from the suggestion of let's buy her plane tickets, or let's
let her come, let's tell her that she'll come and spend some time in the summer with me. All of a sudden, she's not in control of everything and everything April does. And that's why she came out.
Yeah, it's definitely a control thing. You can feel that for sure.
Remember to harvest, guys.
Yeah, harvest, everyone, harvest those kernels. I feel like the control thing here is definitely way more, it's way harder to swallow than all of the stuff, all that control stuff from Emily. So I know, Mary, you're very perceptive when it comes to characters having control issues. But for me, like, this is particularly awful because of April, because of how much it's actually hurting her own daughter. Although maybe there's an argument to be made that Emily is doing the same thing to her daughter.
I was just gonna say.
I was like, wait, uh-oh. Did I just walk into that one?
But I think what gets us is that Emily at least tries to give people a chance or a notice. They're aware of what she's doing, even if she's doing it like she's sly about it and it comes out later. They're not blindsided in the same way that April has done it. That Anna has done it. And Anna is doing it to an adult that she has no reason to do it to. Luke was her boyfriend. You can't tell me that Luke 12 years ago was 180 degrees from the Luke that we know now. So what is it that would make her be so distrustful to Luke, unless it's something in her?
Right. The house on her sister?
I missed that. Sorry.
Oh, the house on her sister. Oh, he's making a Wizard of Oz joke.
I think it's
The Wicked Witch.
with the
Yeah.
girl last. She's probably one of my least favorite people right now. That's one of the reasons I have an issue with season 7.
Oh, I mean, it's definitely a tough episode for that reason, but it's still a good episode though. It's a good episode because of all those emotions. I still think that we've got an episode to come where Luke has to say goodbye to April. I think that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be real tough.
Am I the only one who felt a little uncomfortable that Luke asked Lorelai for the letter?
I didn't.
I thought that
mean,
was great.
They're old friends.
Yeah, they've been friends for a while and he's been in Rory's life forever.
That made a lot of sense to me. And actually I was just like a moment where I was like, if anything, it kind of drove me crazy that this is, the party, the birthday party that he asked her to help with. It's like Lorelai is that person that he instinctively goes to when something like this, when something is overwhelming and difficult for him, and it's like, why couldn't he just give her that, like, always? Like, why?
Like a lot.
Why can't you just, why does it have to be like when things are super hard for you? Like, why not just all the time,
Well, one thing that did change though between then and now is that, at the time, Anna wasn't like evil Anna. Anna was just the mother of his child who made a request, which was, I don't want your girlfriend around my kid, so that was like, I think there was a part of him like, yeah, he was leaving Lorelai out in a lot of ways, but I also think that he was trying to be respectful of, the fact that April's mom is the other person involved in the decisions, and it's awkward to involve his girlfriend.
Right. And
and now
and maybe he was a little worried too.
He was worried because it was tentative. He just met her. Like, he didn't have any like stake in the game yet, you know, and now she's thrown the gauntlet. So now it's almost like, oh, you know what? Actually, this is my life. These are my people. And I'm going to have the person who knows me the best, you know, help me fight for my right.
Right. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So the idea is that he actually chose April. He chose getting to know his daughter and trying to be a father over bringing Lorelai into that, because he was worried that bringing her in could potentially ruin that in the set, because Anna would reject it and reject him. And that's why he did that.
Yeah, and you see when he goes to Anna to say, you know, for the speech, you know, I have rights, that's his moment of action. Up until now, he's very passive. He doesn't, you know, he's sort of like along for the ride with April, like, oh, I guess I'm your dad, like, all right, like, what do I do now? And he's so tentative. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't feel like he belongs in the situation. He's trying to do the best thing that he can, but he is really passive in the whole thing. So of course he's passive when it comes to Lorelai as well, where he just doesn't make a decision. But now that, you know, he was sort of, you know, pushed into a corner by Anna, he has to, you know, find himself, and he has to say, hey, wait a minute, this is what I want, this is what I deserve, this is what I'm entitled to. And I think it's great kind of the way it all comes down, because it is the moment where he can go to Lorelai and say, you know, regardless of their relationship and what happened there, he can be like, I need this from you, like, please, you know.
You like season 7, don't you, Diana? Do you like
season? Honest with you, I never loved it, but I didn't dislike it. I kind of go with the flow. I'm like, well, this is what they decided to do, so I'm along for the ride. Like, that's fine, you know.
Right.
And I do think,
because these things make sense. These things like actually like make some of the decisions that the season 7 writers did make more sense than like, oh, they just completely disregarded everything that had been done before.
I don't think they did disregard a whole lot, because, you know, even with Luke's character, right, the whole series, he's really passive. He's just like pining after Lorelai, not doing anything about it, and it isn't until, you know, he's sort of painted into a corner where he's just like, oh, I should tell her, you know, I should go for this. And, you know, he does finally make a move. And so I think there's a lot of character development that sort of comes to fruition in this season. And I honestly think the writers did a really good job.
Yeah.
Zach and MJ were trying to talk earlier.
Oh yeah, Zach and then MJ. MJ.
I was just gonna comment and say how there was one thing that Luke did say is he didn't want Lorelai in it from the beginning because he was afraid that April would like her more than him, and that's why he didn't bring her in.
Oh, that is
it didn't
true.
have anything.
That is
it didn't have
true.
anything to do with Anna until after the birthday party, and then she found out that Lorelai was there.
That is true. His first motivation was not Anna. It was this fear that that he couldn't develop a relationship with April that wouldn't be like sort of tainted by the Lorelai that everybody loves, and that would sort of get in the way of what he's trying to build.
Yeah, and it also goes into the whole passive aggressive type thing that Diana was saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anybody have any other thoughts on this before we move over to Lorelai and the letter?
I just have one question, John.
Yep.
So with any of the storylines that we are exposed to now, where we are in season 7, before we get to the original series finale, like the season 7 season finale, what would you like to put kernels on? Like, what's something that you would like to put your kernels on? Do you just feel like
For
I
the
really don't know
like
what
for a
happened?
second there, I was like, wow, Carl's really he's getting serious here. Like, no putting the kernels down on things, but then you did it.
This is a serious question.
What do I want for kernels? I mean,
Like on something that's going on in season 7 that you are unsure about what could or couldn't happen.
well, I'm feeling pretty certain that Lorelai and Christopher are going to come to an end before the end of the season. I feel pretty confident that there's going to be a scene between April and Luke that is going to involve tears. Sorry, eating pizza.
It's okay, it's dinner time.
Let's see what else. I feel pretty confident that Luke and Lorelai are going to get back together. What else?
Who's making a list of these predictions?
I think that Logan and Rory are going to break up.
Okay.
And I think that Rory is not going to hook up with Marty. I also don't think Marty is going to be arriving in a helicopter anymore in the revival. As sad as that is for me to have to admit, it's not going to happen.
Here's the real question. What do you think of the Rory's plan to write a letter to try and make up with Lucy?
Like, what do I think it's going to work?
Yeah, do you think it's like, honestly, I'll be very honest with you. When I saw this episode for the first time, I was like, why do you care? Okay, she's mad, move on. Like, I feel like the Lucy, and I felt that way in the last episode too, the Lucy storyline felt very odd to me, very out of place. And so when it's mentioned in this episode in this like passing way of like, I think I'm gonna write her a letter. I'm like, okay. It just seems
I didn't
so
really
odd to me.
think
I don't
much of it because for that same reason, you know, Lucy is not like, she's not like Paris. She's not like any, you know, important friend that Rory has had throughout the series. She's been in like 3 episodes up until now, and I haven't really developed a strong relationship to her. So, you know, it doesn't feel like Rory has a really strong relationship. But I sort of take her feelings about this whole thing a little bit more, less about how it's less about how she feels about Lucy, and it's more about how she feels about herself. I think that she needs to like, she's trying to like kind of make what she did right again. She feels like she needs to be forgiven for what she did.
Well, and she's seen her mom lie about something. So I think then I think it's more, that letter is more to clear her conscience than it is to,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
to make Lucy feel better, because she's like, oh, I see my mom lying. Yeah, lying's not good. Let me try to make up with my friend. But I think it's just more about clearing her, you know, making her feel better.
I'll say this, Carl. I'd be willing to put down kernels that Lucy's not in the revival.
That's easy.
John, I just came up to ask if you still like Mark.
I don't really have the love for Marty that I had last season, but I still feel for the character. You know, I can relate to that kind of character. You know, he reminds me a little bit of me. And so I feel bad for him. You know, he clearly was in love with Rory, you know, or in a kind of love with Rory, and you know, it wasn't his fault that he ended up happening to, you know, I mean, I think that if he had the choice, he would never have, you know, ended up seeing her ever again, you know, or he would have waited till one day he is, you know, a successful journalist and he can afford a helicopter and land on her front lawn and come out, you know, but until then, I think he probably would, you know, not want to have to see her. And so this all was unfortunate for him.
Thank you.
Wait, so, oh wait, never mind.
I have a question for you, John, about the letter. How do you think Christopher would have responded if she had told him about it before she sent it off to wherever she did in the post office? In that little mailbox.
Depends on when she told him. When for this particular question, when does she tell him?
I don't know. I mean, like, when do you think? And do you think that his response would be different in any scenario?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think that his response would be different if she told him like right after Luke asked, and she says he's trying to get custody of his daughter who's being taken away from him, and he's not going to see her anymore, and he needs a letter by somebody who can, you know, speak to his character. And I understand you're really upset with him, but you know what it feels like to be a father and to, you know, and I'm sure that Christopher would be like, that's cool, I get it. And then he tells her, if she tells him after she's already done all of this stuff right before she's about to put it in the mailbox, I think that he would be like, why did you keep that from me? Why are you doing that?
I don't condone ever hiding stuff, because it's always bad. If you're hiding something, you shouldn't be doing it anyways. But from Lorelai's perspective, I can understand why she's doing it, because it always has been a tricky relationship with when Luke is concerned with Christopher. So it's kind of tricky, but like, I see where you're coming from. Like, I think if she were to explain it like that, there is a possibility he could, but there's also still a possibility that he could still be super upset about it.
I mean, I get that she understands that he's really weird about Luke right now, and specifically like Luke and children, and, you know, and all that. But I just think that this is big enough that she should be able to sort of put that to the side and be like, look, you know, this is an old friend, and he is trying to keep his daughter, and like, that is just something that you need to really like, you need to give me a pass here on this, you know, just for that. And I'd love for you to proofread the letter for me, make sure, you know, so that you see everything I wrote and all of that stuff. I think that he would be totally into it. Like, people respect when you bring them in to you know, and make them a part of it. I think that he would totally respect it. I think that if she told him right before she put it in the mailbox, his anger would absolutely be there, because he would feel like you still have this thing for Luke that doesn't include me, and you don't want to include me.
Which is why she hid it. Yeah, I agree. I can't stand the hiding stuff. It's just, it sucks.
I honestly think that in this, she actually has a really good bargaining chip in the argument by saying, imagine if I did that to you. Imagine if I, as Rory's mother, had tried to keep you from Rory. Wouldn't you want someone to stand beside you and argue for you?
Totally.
And that's what I'm doing for my friend. So I think she could have made him see the point of the argument, but maybe she just didn't want to because of the Christmas spirit and she thought it might ruin this. And he's a sulker. We learned that last episode, so maybe she just didn't want him to send him down on that path of sulk.
We also know she's not much of a communicator either, you know?
She's just not good at communicating. She's just not good at it, because there's a way to empower him. There's a way to make him feel part of it. Like, even like being like, hey, I'm going to need your opinions on this. You're a father, so I want you to help me with this letter. You know, like, I'm sure that he would, that would actually probably make him feel good, you know?
Well, and she's not being a good partner either at this point, because whatever she was worried about him being insecure about, that would give them the opportunity to work through those insecurities by having him, you know, what are you afraid of? What do you think, that I still love him? No, I don't, you know, and just kind of work through that. And I think she's just kind of still like wants to do things her way and not really be bothered with a partner sometimes. In a marriage, you have to be bothered by them, whether you want to or not, or stuff, you know, resentment builds and issues build.
Yeah, and once you get far enough into that lie, then if he were to find out, it would only make him feel like that you may still have feelings for this guy, that you don't really trust me all that much. Like, you know, just it's like, that's why I say he would react different. I think he would react differently if it came at different.
Do we think Lorelai knows about the fight between Luke and Chris at this?
Yeah,
Oh,
the same thing.
good point.
That's a good question.
You might not know.
Yeah.
I think no.
I don't think she knows.
Well,
think no as
more
well.
reason why she, you know, shouldn't be. I mean, if she knew about that fight, that would probably give her more reason why she would be afraid to tell Christopher about it. But I don't think she knows about that fight.
I think she would have told Rory about the fight if she knew about.
That's a good point. Remember how she was when she reacted with Christopher when he brought out the letter from Gigi's mom? She was like, are you sure you don't want to just like hide this and, you know, bury it for like months on end, not communicate, not talk to me? He's like, nope, that's good. We can communicate. We can talk to each other about it. You remember that?
Sorry, start from the beginning of that point. I heard the second half. I heard the second half of the point because I was walking over to grab some pizza.
Oh, with Gigi's mom, when she sent the letter and Christopher like brought it out to show her and tell her and talk to her about it. I mean, it's a little bit reminiscent of like how she was asking him if he wanted to, you know, hide it and harbor it for months on end, then, you know, not communicate with her. And he's like, no, communication's fine. Do you remember that part?
I remember the letter, but was he like keeping the letter from her? No.
No, she was teasing him and saying like, are you sure you don't want to hide it from me?
Oh, right. Got it. Like she was sort of jokingly showing her own perspective on something like this. Like if she was in his shoes, she'd probably do that. Yeah, that's how I take that.
Yeah, kind of like projecting.
Exactly. I wanted to return to the band. What is everyone's interpretation of Brian's fascination with the breast pump?
Inexperienced.
He's a guy that has word breast in it.
Yeah, I think
There
it's
you
just
go.
such a weird contraption. I mean, I used one when I had kids, and it's the first time you look at one, it's like, wait, you're supposed to do what with that?
Exactly.
And so I think it's
The
just
bump or
kind
the-
of such a weird, and he's obviously not a woman, but I think that adds even more like curiosity to it as well.
I think it was actually a Modella brand because and they called it something. What did they
Yeah,
call it? The
That yellow.
that yellow.
Yep.
Can I just say that Brian staring at her belly, every single time I've seen that episode, I laugh really hard just watching him stare at her belly.
It was
I
funny,
like
but I had
was that
I really did not remember that at all. The only thing I remember from shooting that scene was the breast pump at the end, because I do remember my questioning, like, how do I play this? Is this like supposed to be a little pervy? Like, is he like, is like Chris said, like, does he hear the word breast and he's like, breast, you know? Or is it more like what, you know, Rachel's saying, which is like, the thing is really weird. He's probably just like completely confused. He seems to be like a kind of a, you know, person who would be into like contraptions and weird stuff like that. But I do think now watching it that the weirdness that he has about her belly seems to be running through the entire scene, right? Like, so it's like he's like completely blown away by how big her stomach is. And then he's super fascinated with how you hold a baby, and he's just like just completely spellbound by everything that Zach is saying, and you know, he's repeating it over, and that like the breast pump might just be like the cap on that whole thing. Just like what in the world?
Yeah, it definitely has to do with inexperiences. He hasn't been around this type of topic. He's just innocent. I see innocent.
Yeah, I think so too. And I feel really bad for Lane. I mean, I know when I was pregnant, I went up to over 200 pounds and people would walk over to me and say, oh my God, you have twins, triplets, what? And hiding the Kanzi because, you know, everybody was always watching what you did. I felt really bad for Lane in that.
I had a coworker who was about 5'3" and she was pregnant with twins. And towards the end of her pregnancy, her belly wasn't as round as Lane's. It was more like kind of like a football shape sticking out front, and she could barely reach her keyboard at her desk anymore. But it was really huge like that, just not quite the same shape.
I'm sorry, but that belly was ridiculous.
Really big.
That was
I worked with a little girl. She was Filipino and she was just as tiny as Lane. She was probably under 5 foot, and her belly with twins was ginormous.
Ginormous.
Yeah, but did it stick out?
It was
Did it stick out on the sides? I mean,
Yeah.
that was what was so weird. That stuck out on
She
the
was
side.
big. And then my sister had twins, but my sister's like an average size. She's like, I don't know, 5'2" and 130 pounds normal. She's not like, wasn't a, 85 pounds. So I think when you're real petite like that,
It
I
will
think
stick. You think
especially
it does
twins.
stick out on the side? I would imagine
And that
it would
was-
go forward.
You know
I
that
think
there's like why
you get the,
why
you get the,
I
Sorry,
think
what?
it depends
Take
on the
up
person.
whatever space that they can take up, they will.
and you just sometimes you gain extra weight. Doesn't have to do with the baby so much, so that your body can hold that baby, hold those babies, especially when you're real petite like that. It probably does look like, but I do think that they made her look, extra. They were just making it extra.
I don't know. It looks fake to me. But maybe you're right. Maybe women that petite having twins, it looks fake in real life, but it just looked very fake and a little lumpy.
That little girl I worked with, she was, I shouldn't say she was a little, she was a woman. She was just very small, and I'm only 5'2", but she was like way smaller than me, and I feel like she just, everybody, and I don't think she made it full term. Like she had to go home before, or she had to quit working before she was even 9 months along. So I didn't even see her full girth.
I was gonna say there's
But
some old wives' tales about how you carry. Like if you carry your weight on your belly, like round, like Lane is, that you're supposed to be carrying. I think you're supposed to be carrying girls, and if you carry your weight up and down so that your belly is long like a football, you're supposed to be carrying boys. And like my mother, who used to be an OBGYN, predicted the sex of my kids 100%. Just from how I was carrying my baby.
Now, Mary, my coworker had twin girls and she carried like a football.
Okay, I'm just saying. I
don't know.
I have it flipped.
But she was also
entirely
tiny and they had nowhere to go. So, and they were both pretty decent sized babies, considering that they were twins.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have it right, but my mother would be able to tell me better. But like I'm just saying, like it's not known, but it's very well possible that
people carry it in like different ways. And
Yeah,
you
so
wrap-
I just thought when you said that, like, it's like the opposite of my coworker. But it doesn't mean it.
Girl, the face changes.
I also feel like there was like I feel like that kid that was in that scene. I want to say that I remember that kid doing more than he actually did in the scene. So I wonder if they cut anything from the end of that. But I thought it was a very funny scene. That's for sure. I loved all of that stuff with Zach and Brian and Zach like showing him all of the holding of the baby, which
Have you used those
may
positions?
which may come back in a future episode.
Yeah, I love that scene. It was hilarious.
Have you used any of those positions with your daughter?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that they had names, but like, you know, when you're holding her in all kinds of different ways in order to like, you know, do different things like bringing her over to the sink to wash her hands, or, you know, just sometimes it just gets heavy on, you know, you have to like sort of shift her weight around. But yeah, I've done all of those, I want to say.
I have to say, watching that scene after becoming a parent totally hits in a totally different way, because I'm like, oh yeah, I did those and I yelled her that way and I did that.
Totally. Is there anything else that we wanted to discuss before I head out?
I absolutely loved when they were in the store or in the mall or whatever, and Luke and Rory were sitting there talking about all of the gifts that they've given. And you can kind of just see like a glimpse of their friendship coming back and like that relationship. And it's such a super sweet.
Yes, it's the reason why I will put some kernels on those two getting back together before the end of the season. Is Carl here? He didn't hear that. Carl, I'm putting some kernels on the two of them coming back together. I don't think that they're going to get married. Obviously, she's currently married. I do think that she will divorce Chris before the end of the season. I think so. But I think that Lorelai and Luke will end the season as friends, maybe, I guess. I don't know. Like kind of dating, maybe not.
Like a possibility there.
Like a possibility, but I don't think that they're gonna end the season like back together again. I think that they will just come together again. Like let's see, maybe we can make this work, or you know, something. But I don't think they're gonna get married. I feel like the marriage theme of the series, I feel like part of what it might be saying is like that Lorelai doesn't need to be married. She just needs to find somebody that she wants to be with.
Yeah.
I don't know. What does everybody else think?
But she asked Luke to marry her. She wanted to get married.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like that, you know, that part of her journey, I think, was doing that. And I just think that now she's at a different place. She's now already been officially married to somebody. And I think that it's different now. I think that she probably would be okay with just finding a life with Luke and maybe not getting married.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Why does she need to be married? Why does Lorelai need to be married to Luke?
She doesn't strike me as a type of person that has to be married. She seems like she's more independent and self-driven. you know, if she
I-
was. Go
Yeah.
on.
No, continue. I was just gonna agree with you. Yeah, I think so.
I think that if she was in that type of personality, I think that she would have gotten married a long time ago when Christopher and her were younger. But if she had that need and desire, you know.
So then what is all of this marriage stuff throughout the last 6 seasons of the show? Like, why has the last 6 seasons been so consumed with the idea of marriage and marrying and Max marrying and all? Is it just that other people have come in and made that a big important thing to her?
I think her
Because
mom
that
had
would-
a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I was gonna
Personally,
say,
get her
that was
mom's
the
thrown out there.
catalyst of her leaving her house, is not marrying Chris from
Yeah.
when she was 16.
Yeah, and her mom puts a lot of emphasis on that, like constantly.
But it has been a theme in this 7 seasons of the series, is like this idea of like Lorelai getting married. We talked about this idea that Lorelai probably would like to have some exciting wedding that which is different from being married. That's about like a party, a big day, all that. But but she's crushed. It seems crushed at the end of season 6 that it's not going to happen on June 3rd and all of that, right? Like, but I agree with you. I actually don't think that Lorelai is the type of person, and it's true. Like, all of this began with her not wanting to marry Christopher and go, and she's a very independent person. So I'm just asking in general, like, why to have the emphasis on marriage throughout the series when it seems very clear that she doesn't need it?
I think it was set up for her from like such a young age that would have been her path, that there's a bit of a sliding doors thing in her head of like, what would happen if I actually did get married? So she walked away from marriage for Chris, but the thought of marriage was a constant in her head because it had been planted in her head from so young. So once her focus came off of Rory, let's be honest, the series started when Rory was, finally settled on the path to Harvard. So for the whole time that her life was focused on Rory, that image of marriage may not have been at the forefront. But once her life with Rory's been settled, now she's going back to, well, what were her dreams? And her dreams crashed around this idea of marriage. So it's always there. It's always just hanging in front of her. I don't know if I'm explaining.
That does make sense. That it's sort of like, now that Rory is becoming an adult and she can focus again on just herself, like the question is like, is this something she missed out on? Is this something that she needs? But I actually think it isn't something that she needs. And that it makes sense to me that the series would end without a wedding for her, and that would be okay.
Well, and even when you're like super like how she is, she doesn't need anybody. She, can do everything on her own. It's different when you get with somebody that you can actually see a future with, and that's what she saw with Luke. And then when she realized it wasn't going to happen, of course she'd be crushed and everything, but I like how it's more an emphasis on her being, with just her. She needs to find herself and do everything for her.
Well, and she's never really been just her, too. If you think about it, she left when she was pregnant, and it was Rory and Lorelai for, all those years. And then Rory's off in college and building her own life. And I think it is kind of a confusing time for her because she's never really been alone. She's always had somebody, and it's a daughter, but still it's so different from being completely alone and having your child there. So I think she's just figuring it out.
Well, I was going to say, what about if we're going on this idea that Lorelai doesn't need marriage, doesn't need to be married, is independent, that like this sort of like the storybook life, you know, that includes a big beautiful wedding and you know, being married to the love of your life, is not necessarily something that needs to be in the cards for Lorelai. Then why did she get married to Chris? Like, or should we assume that the marriage to Chris then is a big mistake in this whole thing, right? Like, should we view it that way? Should we say like, oh, that's proof that the marriage to Christopher is a mistake, because she shouldn't need that. Like, this is just like Lorelai at her lowest point and at her most vulnerable, where she makes a mistake like that. That is not really part of her character. I guess I'll throw that to you, T, because you're the one who sort of brought that topic up.
Honestly, I don't really buy that. I think that that's something that she consented to, that she was interested in and that she wanted. I think that it's kind of like the writer's way of showing us that, like, without any obstacles of, you know, the responsibilities of children or the struggles with that or the financial things that normally put strains on relationships, like all those obstacles are taken away when she decided that she was going to get married to Christopher. And also too, I feel like she kind of toyed with the idea when she was, you know, toying with the idea of Max, and she just didn't feel right with him. And then she got together and she was having that conversation, that breakdown in Luke's diner, and crying over Christopher and saying, like, you know, she had imagined this ideal relationship with him and how disappointed she was that he was going to have that with somebody else. And I think that definitely changed her path as far as like relationships and commitment and communication after that, in my opinion.
So you're saying she doesn't need to be married. She's just married because she wants to be married to this person.
I think she's always been in love with, the father of her child. And, you know, it's kind of like one of the members of our Marcus community that she was expressing, you know, that she has that bond to her child's father in a unique, very special way, that they're not together, but they have a different type of bond. And I think that's, you know, transparent with Lorelai and Christopher, that they have a bond that's unique, and she does have an authentic love for him.
And I'm still convinced that they're not going to be married by the end of this season. Just saying.
And what do you think would be the catalyst as far as like storyline if that were to occur?
That I don't know, except that, you know, the only thing I can think is that she is still in love with Luke, and that starts to put strain on her relationship with Christopher. And then that strain shows itself in arguments and then, you know, maybe it just comes to a head with her maybe revealing that she is still in love with Luke. And that would be enough for you know, for him to probably, and for her to probably say that we can't be married anymore.
With the history of Lorelai and Luke, do you think that Luke is a solid candidate for her as far as like communication and care concern directly for Lorelai herself?
I think that he has plenty of traits that would make him a loyal and good, like, lifetime partner of hers. And that the traits that make him a poor partner, I feel like the series has sort of explored the idea that he's growing and trying to, and becoming better at that. But that Lorelai makes him better in those ways, that he's his best self when he's with her. And if April does leave the dynamic, I think that will also create a vacuum that will need to be filled, like a love vacuum that will need to be filled. Otherwise, he could potentially just like, turn into a Louis. And so a Louis, yeah. So I think that I also do really believe that the power dynamic between Lorelai and Christopher is so out of whack. It's so different that over time that will actually become a much bigger problem than the fact that Lorelai and Luke are so they're so like they almost kind of push against each other in terms of like uncompromising in who they are. That actually that challenge has, if they can figure out how to make it work, that actually has more longevity. But I don't know. I really don't know what the catalyst will be. I can't really say for sure, but I can say that I feel pretty confident, Colonel confident, that Lorelai and Christopher will not be together by the end of the season. But I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be super confident because of course they didn't know that they were. No, I just thought about that. If they thought that they had a season 8, then it's possible that she would still be with Christopher by the end of the season. But it just seems like they're already setting up plenty of things that are telling us that this is not right. That there are things here that are not totally right. Like that she's keeping things from him. She doesn't really feel 100% that she is in this marriage more because of some idea rather than because of actual, like, I love this. I love you in that way. Something like that. I don't know if I'm getting it completely right, but it's something like that.
I think I understand where you're coming from. That I think there's different degrees of love and there's different types of love too, though, And that's what I was trying to connect with what one of our Remarcus community members was sharing the other night on a personal level, of the sense of that she has that unique bond. And even though that I don't know that would be enough to make a marriage last or like a long lasting, I could see why that would create that that need or that desire to make it work with that individual.
So John, are we saying like 50 kernels? Like you're not so sure?
Yeah, I don't know. That I'm not completely convinced. I feel I'm feeling less convinced on the kernel thing. But I am going to jump. I will be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. For the beginning of the second half of season 7, which, as we know, part 2 of every season, second half of every season is sort of its own, larger storyline.